Number 1, it is Kasva versus State in the lower bracket of round 2 for Golden League. As crazy as it sounds, this is more important for Kasva than it is for State, because State had a good run in the first round, Kasva not so much. If Kasva wants a shot at the playoff spot, he needs to deliver something in round 2, or he needs a crazy run in round 3. Whereas for State, if he takes down Kasva over here, he could actually be rather close to a playoff ticket.
Yeah, and I think like something that could be a potential edge for Kasva is it'd be fair to call him an aggressive player. I know in the history of Age of Empires 2, I believe he was seen as more of kind of a defensive player, but anyone who's been watching AoE before knows he's kind of the full aggro guy. That's an edge you can have in these situations where we're running a unique format, right? Because in round 2 Golden League 2, of course, you start with 12 villagers as opposed to the 6. On maps like Kawasan, that can really screw your timing, and it could throw State off guard. State, who, like I said, has been able to put a lot more hours in this year, but playstyle-wise, I'd always say State was kind of more constrained. He played for more of that mid-game compared to Kasva.
Yeah, Kasva was always a very aggressive player. Back in the days when Mongol tower rushing was a very common occurrence, he was the #1 player to do it. And players knew that as well. They hated playing Kasva because of how aggressive and how violent he was in the early game. It was just so frustrating to play against him. He was able to exploit slightly exposed resources, just small slip-ups. Kasva was able to capitalize on them given how aggressive he was. Oftentimes that actually led to his downfall though, because if his almost all-in-esque aggressive play didn't work out, then the follow-up was somewhat lacking.
An interesting change here between the two. State opened immediately with the racks and is going for the Dark Age aggression. Kasva chooses a defensive format. He dropped his dock faster, so he should have better fishing. And with an outpost here, he's looking to defend. Now, keep in mind, if State is willing to go up to 8 or 9 spears, he can still kill off this outpost. Depends on whether Kasva wants to keep the villagers here shoreline fishing or run them home for safety. And if I'm not mistaken, this map doesn't have shoreline, right? So you have to either go home or build an expensive gur to go chop wood.
This is such a massive difference between what you see with the 6 villager start and the 12 villager start. 6 villager start, you get your dock up, you start making fishing ships, but you don't have the economy to also get a tower up there. Now, with the 12 villager start, Kasva could walk out, get a tower up, and he could play defensive, and he can afford not to commit anything to Dark Age Spearmen, which is usually how Mongols approach a game like this when you start with the standard 6 villagers.
I do really like this build from Kasva. Like, this is probably one of the best usages of the starting gur I've seen in a long time. Because, of course, they made a change a while back, right? So you start with 1 instead of having to build 1. It's a big savings considering this usually costs 100 wood. You can see on the other side, State uses it for food, which he needs for the additional spears. Now, there will be some value for State if he's able to get this Uvu, right? That's 150 wood. You get paid 50 resources as well. And considering that Kasva's only willing to invest 1 villager to try and build up, oh my... All right, this is pain.
Oh,
I think State got a little bit baited there.
That's gonna stink so badly, and once that tower goes up, that Uvu is gonna be well defended, Kasva's gonna have safe fishing, and the problem here for State is that he's committing very heavily to Spearmen. He's up to 7. So his feudal age is gonna be drastically delayed compared to what Kasva has, and it's not like he really inflicted any damage on Kasva here.
Kasva. Once upon a time, he was known for his outpost usages. Once again, he's known for his outpost usages. Only these days, it's on his side of the map, and it ends up being a brilliant play. Like, he's getting a better off eco. He'll get a much better feudal timing. And then you can just count what State's doing. You know, you just go 1 or 2 archers, all of a sudden State's behind, he has to kind of mirror that move, or you can try to go for horsemen. But I actually really favor Kasva's position. I wouldn't even be surprised if after he gets feudal, he goes for a second dock.
Yeah, I would think that's gonna be the scenario for him. He's actually having a little unbalanced eco over here. It was a little too late to the gold, so he's floating a tiny bit of food. But still, he's going to beat his opponent to feudal age, and that could easily snowball into pond control. Oh, silver tree. Okay.
Wow. That's a very interesting play, considering the location of the trade post. You can't get maximum distance here. Also, like, State should see this, right? Where is his Khan at this point?
It's somewhere... It's scouting on the right side right now. I think he just went very aggressive at the beginning, so he's yet to scout this one. There's going to be a silver tree coming in for him as well. Oh. You got to be careful.
Spearman should reveal what's happening here. It is going to be a commitment out of the spears this time. Should be enough to get rid of this. Interesting maneuver arrow. He's like, screw it, I've got it, might as well use it. And notice he's just trying to posture, right? Don't let the villagers get their way. The problem is that the villagers can easily just get away now that you've used the arrow like that.
Yeah, and with Feudal Age coming in, Kasva should be able to afford one archer ship before the dock gets burnt down. Still some spearmen nearby, but one of them is rather weak. If Kasva gets an archer ship in here, these spearmen won't be able to take down the dock, and this is actually a misstep, I feel, from State. He's prioritizing the tower. He needs to burn down the dock before the first combat ship comes out.
Well, they're both going for the same maneuver here. Of course, Kasva completes the tech up first, so he should be able to push out the first boat. But Kasva is not torching a dock. So State could still have the edge here. And notice that spread. Check that out. That's beautiful. He knows there's going to be an archer ship coming out first. So he spreads himself out to ensure that he doesn't lose maximum units to the first flurry of arrows.
But here's a villager. He just sent in a villager to repair, and now the spearmen have to concentrate.
If you stab him, no. Okay, I hate this RNG. Can we just agree that this RNG is absurd? Did you just see that? Half the health of a spearman gone, and then the next volley completely misses. What is this Stormtrooper aim?
Oh, that's annoying for Kasva. Doc gets a little blaze.
It's so, honestly, like, I don't know how people feel about the archer ships. Like, it is so frustrating. We've seen it so many times, right? Someone trying to build a dock or repair a dock and gets away with it because an archer ship decides to go full Stormtrooper on us. It happens so many times. And then the other flip side of that coin is sometimes you're like, I will definitely get this dock up if he hits the average damage. He just goes for a critical hit, right? Maybe that kind of RNG keeps it sexy, but my God, sometimes when it makes the difference like this, it just feels like it crucifies you. And Kasva, I honestly don't know what the plan was here. I think he was expecting these archer ships to hit something sometime today.
Now we have a dock up as well for State over here. So he's contesting the fishing eco of Kasva. Question is what's happening on the northern bond, because Kasva also needs to threaten State's fishing eco now that both of them are in feudal. And if you look at the resource banks, this is getting dire some here for Kasva. He's yet to harass those fishing ships, and look at what State is doing. He's banking up food for Kasva Age.
Oh, and Kasva, did he go in placement there? Was that an emplacement he got?
State has an emplacement.
Okay, but I think Kasva on the other lake got an emplacement, but the boats are out of range. They're out of range. Oh no! Oh, this is so infuriating.
I think he was thinking about taking engagements over there, but then his plans just got derailed by the fact that he had to focus so much on this pond, and now State is in definitive control of this. Fishing ships idle. That was the entire food eco of Kasva. Now there is a war junk as well, pushing away the single galley that Kasva has. No fishing eco, and I honestly love the usage of that emplacement that State has on that forward dock.
Honestly, if State could choose, he'd have a toggle attack off option there. Because he would have actually got the archer ship if it wasn't for the fact that when he turned, he attacked the building automatically. Like, that cost him the kill on the archer ship, which is why Kasva has a leg to stand on this lake. If it wasn't for that, he's, like, done. But considering he just went back in range of the emplacement, he might still be royally screwed here.
Oh, State is going to lose his fishing eco on the left pawn, but that's not good enough for Kasva over here. He's down by 6 eco, and he lost his own fishing eco as well. Big difference is, though, that State is about to get to Castle Age, and once that happens, Lancers will start ripping apart Kasva's eco. Kasva's game plan here was to prioritize the water. He didn't really invest much into land by any means. So even just a couple of Lancers will be a pain to deal with.
It's so much worse than it even appears apparent, right? It's not just the tech up that's imminent. It's the fact that I believe State actually got traders prepped. Kasva has yet to do that. So the moment State moves to a corner, he's going to get a decent chunk of gold in his pocket.
Oh, that's a good point indeed. He went with the silver tree. Right now he's trading with 0.
Bro, can we please?
Okay.
The only justification is if you're building a second wave of traders. Otherwise, this should already be rolling to a corner. But he's so distracted, right? There's double ponds. There's spearmen to direct towards those aggression points. Like, there's so much to distract him. Not to mention annoying little Khans on the flanks like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little lackluster of a trade. At least Kasva is going to keep him occupied, and it's going to even pick off a villager on the left side.
The villagers look so happy with their axes running away like that. I'm being shot in the back, but we're having a good day at work.
Okay, this is actually troublesome for State, because look at what's happening on land. State has basically no land army. He wanted to go castle, but he lost his fishing eco. He has basically no pastures, barely any sheep, and he lost access to the hunt. He's at 1,100 food, lacking what he needs for Castle Age.
But at least he's got that trade, am I right? I honestly don't think he's going to notice for a long time now. It's kind of a brutal situation. Like, you know, he needs a little bit of extra gold. Then he could have dedicated more people instead on a gold vein to food, right? Like, that would have been the difference maker. Instead, he's kind of held hostage. Has to even go back for archers now to solve this problem because he knows this many spearmen equal outpost rush follow-up.
Yeah, this is definitely the best that Kasva could have hoped for. It was almost guaranteed that State was going to reach Castle Age, but quite frankly that Khan and now the Spearman pushing away these villagers from the hunt means that State is kind of caught in between, has to reinvest into feudal, but now he's floating a bunch of gold, and don't forget, he doesn't have a spectacular food income. Neither does Kasva, but Kasva never wanted to go to Castle Age in the first place.
So frustrating for State as well. He knows he's outnumbered the spears. If it was 2 less from Kasva, he probably dives onto the villagers, but instead he had to wait. Ooh. Archers are on the way, however, and that's going to be a yoink and a freebie. So now Kasva in an awkward situation. He's nowhere near ready for a tech up, and now, so far, he only has access to spearmen. He has to make a choice. Do I just go greed, or do I now add in horsemen?
Yeah, Kasva definitely bought himself some time. I just feel like it was not enough time, especially because State is now reinvesting into water. Kasva does have a functional fishing eco on the left side, so he's slowly catching up. But this was just a delay on State's economy. He is going to get to Castle Age faster than Kasva most likely, although as I'm saying that, State is yet to move out for the hunt again. Whereas on the other side, Kasva is slowly banking resources for Castle.
I was about to check on that. We're online, boys. Wildlife hates us because they don't like that we make infinite gold, but that is a lot of traders. State, you know, even if he's a little bit slow on the tech up, you know, his eco should look a lot better than Kasva's in the opening minutes of Castle Age.
Yeah, exactly. Although it looks like it's going to be an even Castle Age timing, but as you said, that trade is now coming in clutch, and now he's got access to food again. So that extra 12 eco that we have for State is going to have an amplified importance going into Castle. It's actually somewhat surprising that Kasva decided not to go for a single trader, despite him being the aggressor and no fights taking place close to his base.
But it was a good idea, Lidakor, because he would have lost them to those archers. And Kasva, he sees the future. He's an oracle. There's always an excuse to not do something, I swear, guys. But like, no, it is a fair point. Like, he could have tried for the trade, but I think he was sucked into the whirlpool of attention elsewhere, right? Like, I think he would have sacrificed a few extra spearmen otherwise, and that maybe would have put him behind, or he wouldn't have had as many naval vessels. Step read out on the way. And a clear age for State, because he just commits fully with 18 villagers, and Kasva a little bit slower to even start.
Yeah, credit where it's due, though. Kasva is still going to have a comparable Castle Age timing against State, which is not something that you expected, let's say, 5 minutes ago. So that diversion with the Spearman and the Tower Rush at least bought Kasva comparable Castle Age timing. He's still behind, but at least he won't have a tech disadvantage unless the archers commit to this.
Archers are going to look for a target, and that's going to idle out. Kasva has the forfeit time over. Now, if you have to lose all the archers to delay this by an extra 40 seconds, it's not that bad of an exchange, considering that it would give State room to get into Lancers if he wants to at the beginning, but oh my. Well, the good news is they don't die too fast. The bad news is no one's here to protect them.
Yeah, I mean, State can consider himself lucky with this. Traders will actually all get away, but... come on, that could actually be painful in the next few minutes, because that's one Lancer's worth of massacre. Kasva just needs one Lancer to kill them all.
That one was so low that if you coughed on him, he would have died. Like, this is pretty brutal. I mean, not the biggest challenge these days, but seriously, like, this is a little bit worrisome that State has somehow, some way, just gotten away with this completely.
Not a single trader lost. How ridiculous is that? Yeah, Network coming in clutch over there on the tower. Still, though, State is going to have to respect Kasva's aggression there, because, as I said, Kasva needs one knight to destroy all of those traders now.
I still don't know why Spearmen don't do bonus damage against what is a cavalry unit. I really... like, maybe... I don't know. Cavalry looks scary, you're willing to stab in the face. Maybe those ponies just look a little bit too lame or adorable. Whatever it is, for some reason, it seems to be more efficient to use archers to take out traders than it is Spearmen.
Oh, these archers are so oppressive, though. They're actually blocking the stable spots. Kasva has to idle a bunch of villagers because of that, and he can't get the first stable going either.
He's been doing this so long, right? He idled the step readout timing. He stays just out of range. Like, sure, you better get one of these stables up, but the other two shouldn't be happening. The only upside you've got is long-term. The Khan will win this battle. Admittedly, he will be on his deathbed by the time it's complete, though.
Still, the delays are massive. The first stable just now completes, and State is more than happy with that. Don't forget, he's got a lot of very heavily injured traders. He doesn't want Lancers to be roaming the map, and he's going to be the first one to have Lancers on the field.
It's kind of interesting that State didn't upgrade the archers. Like, there was only a few of them, but I think he had enough surplus gold. Maybe it would have been worth it. Like, maybe you idle this even longer. But, you know, it's like small details you can't see the future of, right? Instead, he just wants all gold pushed into as many Lancers as possible. Wouldn't mind seeing him maybe go into a slight temple, maybe push out 1 or 2 shamans, and maybe even, I don't know, have one of them stand there, patting people in the head as they go past trading.
First Lancer is now coming in here, but more importantly, they have some crossbows and even some spearmen to support them. Kasva, his heavy units are mostly Lancers. He isn't even investing into more than 4 men-at-arms. And on the other side, there is a response to Lancers, not just the crossbows, but the spears.
Wow, I actually think Kasva, like, he misread this. Typically, if you're behind on Lancer production and timing, you have to be able to counter to it, right? You have to have some spearmen added in, maybe crossbows first. State has ticked every box ahead of him. He's got more Lancers, and now he's also adding crossbows before his opponent even does it.
There's a bigger problem. Kasva's OVO is depleted. He's not training those knights in batches of 2. He's single training them against double Lancers, and it's starting to show on the battlefield.
Let's dive through. Idle the eco, tanky enough to kind of stay alive underneath. Only thing really missing here for State would be an extra layer of armor, but he has at least got the level 1 ranged armor upgrade from the blacksmiths, which means that these Lancers don't even die that quickly.
Yeah, still though, Kasva's got constantly 20+ idols, and that's more than enough for State. He's already ahead massively by an eco. Idling 20+ villagers here from Kasva is devastating for his eco.
I'm seeing all those traders as well. That's got to be like, what, 20 on the backside?
Yep.
You know, half of them are 1 hit from death, but Kasva with this comp will never discover that. He's still just trying to max out on Lancers that take a very long time to produce. He needs defense forces now.
Oh, this is just so painful. It's the same thing over and over again. Kasva trying to reinvest into Lancers, but he's kept being pushed back. No access to a new OVU. His gold miners are idle for so long because they always have to be garrisoned inside his tower, and State has an untouched eco, Kasva doesn't. Feels like something that will eventually snowball in the favor of State.
You know, Kasva fans, they were hopping the copium and they're like, oh, well, actually, there's more green Lancers here now. And then, of course, Vodka had to pan north just to see more Lancers on the way in. Like, that's the thing. State isn't necessarily committing all the troops. He's waiting until he's got 3 or 4 more Lancers, sends them in, idles out. Also now going into the Ram. Usually quite a meaningful play up against the Mongols because, you know, oh no, a Ram, let me just pack this up and run away. But if he has to pack them up and run away, that once again stagnates his timing on building enough knights to defend his base.
Absolutely. Also lovely to see State using that coastline for the staging ground. If Kasva ever had the idea to push out there, he actually has a couple of war chunks out around to try and help out in the battle. But one thing that Kasva sees is the battering ram coming up, and more importantly, a tower creep. Springo towers coming in for both State and Kasva.
Not to mention the Yam, right? He's got the network there. You can see the glow. So easy to just start a step away in a situation where Kasva's now only transitioning into the crossbows from behind. What is down top of this as well? Ram immediately going after the Uvu. In a way, kind of doing Kasva a favor because he's not getting any stone from this. He's not double producing anytime soon. Crossbows are being ignored on the side of blue, which means that, you know, even if you trade Lancer for Lancer, it should come out ahead here.
Yeah, State is more than happy with this. Don't forget, he's got a massively better eco. He's more than happy taking fights inside Kasva's base, even if they're suboptimal, because this ensures that his trade is untouched, and it also ensures that his tower creep can continue. And now we're going to see some Spring Golden placements on those towers for him. Not so much for Kasva. He's struggling for stone. He won't be able to make more emplacements on new towers.
And those emplacements are going to last a long time, right? Think about the comp that Kasva's gone for. This is why, even though it looks like he takes a good fight, he's at a huge disadvantage here. Because he has nothing to kill those towers with. Knights take too long to build in Master Torch towers. And crossbows, like, I don't know if you guys have ever tried shooting, like, a projectile building. It doesn't tend to care.
Oh, Kasva is just at 94 population, State, steady 150, untouched eco. And once again, the Ram is still alive, starting to get some hits on those production buildings. Don't forget, Kasva doesn't even have improved siege engineering, so he can't even get some mangonels or springolds going to deal with this.
This might be close to the GG point. I think Kaz is starting to realize, like, he's losing in production, he's being pushed back. Once he's pushed back, you got gold situation. You're already in a gold panic, right? That vein is almost gone.
Yeah.
what do you access at that point? There's one north of here that's blocked by State, and one to the east that's too easy to reach. So the moment it's expired, Kasva says his time in this game is also done. He'll have to recover it in round number 2.
A lovely game here by State, and it really comes down to tiny details. As you said, those archer ships missing initially, just snowballing the entire game out there, because Kasva, after losing that fishing eco, he was just never able to recover. You see, his eco was just much more feeble, and this is actually a deceiving graph, because this one does not show the fishing ships, nor does it show the traders. So in reality, the overall economy was substantially better. Yeah, this is a much better graph, showing how State pulled ahead beyond minute 8.
Yeah, I really like the way that State kind of found a transition in a trade in a way that his opponent never could. I like the idea that Kasva tried to come in with aggression, but you always felt like he was doing it as a reactionary from a disadvantage, right? Like, because State had done it first, you kind of feel like you're not a hipster in this situation. You see someone do something, you kind of mirror it. It makes sense when you consider that, you know, you get the torch down value, there's a lot of exposed eco. He did do a good job of forcing State to reinvest instead of going for that castle stage rush that made this look a bit closer. But I can't take anything away from the way State played this beyond 10 minutes, right? Even the early game was great, but the recovery into the way that he opened his castle age always put him ahead. I think looking back at this, Kasva's going to realize that being the turtler, you know, if your only intention with these lancers is to defend your base, probably just go for spearmen and men-at-arms, right? It's more cost efficient and they come quicker. If you want to go lancers, you need to get out and on the backside. And I imagine Kasva's going to be watching this one back, and the replay is going to see all those traders almost dead on the backside, which he knew about, by the way. Remember, he had spears back there. He's probably going to think, I should have sent them, right? I should have found a way to just get 2 lancers and go in the back. Maybe go 2 extra racks as 2 less stables and just kind of turtle up while I chip it in from